the collaboration with Renée Saclacar really emanated from my discovery of her work, which was published in 2012. And I'd been involved in researching the events of the Air India disaster since about 2007, with a view to creating an artistic response to that through music and through music theatre or in operatic contexts. And discovering René's work in 2012, sorry, 2013, was a revelation, because it is so difficult to find a way to enter into the complexities, the human tragedies, the various complicated social, political, and cultural issues, and the merging together of Ireland, India, and Canada in this story. And her work was so eloquent and so clear and so well informed, at the same time as being able to do all that through the medium of poetry, that I was very much inspired and to wish to actually work with her, because I felt that with my particular engagement with the work for about 6 years up until that time, this was the first time that I had found a particular pathway that I felt was responsive and embracive of all of these issues in a poetic way and in a very beautiful way, and at the same time in a never holding back and fearful of really saying what at times can be difficult but necessary to say. Turning Point is one of the finest contemporary ensembles in Canada. Turning Point were really, at the end of the day, heroic in their wish to make this project something that would be available and for this 30th anniversary. And we've worked very hard and worked together very hard to make this work an appropriate response. There are 3 voices in the work. It's baritone, soprano, and countertenor. The countertenor plays an interesting role, for example, in playing the role of a voice of rational reasoning, of a legal perspective, perhaps. In fact, this particular role is one that we wanted to include in the role of countertenor, which is, of course, a male voice which sings at a very high register, almost on par with the soprano in terms of the vocal range. But that creates a quality of distance from perhaps the sometimes patriarchal role that one might associate with, say, somebody who's a legal person. And so oftentimes the role of this particular character is one which is at a remove or at a distance and is able to comment. And so there's this interplay between different types of perspectives in this work, which I think is very important. It's an interplay which occurs throughout Renée Saclacar's work, an interplay in which family, in which parenthood, in which your blood relationship to a lost one, or not even lost, a murdered one, is very much engaged with. And at the same time, and as suggested by the title, Air India Redacted, with these brackets, these square brackets, is that particular title is very much taken from Renée Saclacar's work, in which she invariably, whilst dealing with these issues of family and friends who have been who were involved in both this particular incident, but also in other incidences, she embraces a broader perspective on what it means to feel what happens when one has lost someone in this particular way. These different intertwining perspectives are dealt with also through the idea of a legal perspective, in which particularly poignant moments are actually removed, redacted, they are taken away. And so we have this very sometimes intimate engagement with material, with, when I say material, intimate engagement with poetry, with the potential for a name to be presented on a page or in song, and yet sometimes these things are then removed, or invariably they are redacted through a noise, or the singers themselves redact themselves. And so there is there is this interplay between how difficult it is for the sort of so-called the legal, the rational, the emotional, the heartfelt, the page, the book, how all these things all culminate in the archive of loss, the archive of pain, and the archive of how one engages as a country with this loss. And this is also very much about how a country has both engaged with this question, and also how a people, or a range of different people, to people with different ethnic backgrounds, have been affected, and have in turn also affected and affected change or affected responses. So it is a very complicated, it has been a very complicated 30 years since this event happened. I myself come from rather close to where the Air India airplane 747 came down in the Atlantic Ocean, and so there is an interesting connection there, both for myself, for the director Tom Creed, for the media artist John Galvin. All of us come from that part of the world, and so really this project has been very much about sort of really getting to know the story, the history, and embracing the extraordinary relationship as well that has emerged, particularly through Ireland and Canada, and the understanding that has perhaps been enabled between those people who come to visit the west of Ireland on that date in June 23. There are some rather special experiences that I've had in the past 7 years, where I've really gotten to know just that intimacy between two nations. And I think that's another element that perhaps is somewhere in the music as well.